The Grand Assembly Hall of the Zephyrian Empire stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its crystalline dome refracting the light of 12 suns into prismatic cascades. Representatives from 400 worlds filled the amphitheater-style seating, their varied forms creating a tapestry of scales, fur, chitin, and synthetic flesh. At the center podium stood Adnan Khan, one of only 2 humans present in the vast chamber. His voice carried clearly through the translation matrices as he addressed the assembly. Honored delegates, the human colony ships that departed Earth 3 centuries ago carried more than just our species to the stars. We brought something the Empire has never understood, our children. Ambassador Vexothera of the Dominion clicked her mandibles dismissively. The insectoid being's compound eyes glittered with disdain. Humans reproduce inefficiently. Your cubs require decades to mature, consuming resources while contributing nothing. The Empire's breeding protocols are far superior. Adnan's jaw tightened, but he continued. What you call inefficiency, we call investment. Human children aren't just future workers, they're our conscience, our hope, our... His words cut off abruptly. Adnan's face had gone ashen, his hand clutching his chest. He stumbled, nearly falling against the podium as his breathing became labored. In the diplomatic gallery reserved for non-voting observers, Neha Ahmed shot to her feet. The 22-year-old xenobiologist had been taking notes for the Human Colonial Administration, but now her tablet clattered to the floor. "Adnan!" she called out, her voice carrying across the sudden silence. The assembly erupted in a cacophony of alien languages. Some delegates seemed annoyed by the interruption, others curious. The Empire's protocol demanded that any disruption be immediately contained. Emperor Zymoth himself leaned forward on his crystalline throne. "Remove the defective human. The assembly will continue." But Neha was already moving. She vaulted over the gallery railing with an agility that surprised the nearby cetacean delegate, landing gracefully on the main floor. Security drones began converging on her position, their weapons charging. "Stand down," she shouted, not to the drones but to the assembly itself. This man has given 40 years of his life to building bridges between humanity and the Empire. He deserves better than to collapse alone on your cold floor. She reached Adnan just as his legs gave out, catching him as he fell. His breathing was shallow, his pulse rapid and irregular. Neha's medical scanner confirmed her fears. Cardiac episode, severe. "The human will be processed by medical drones," announced High Chancellor Kekstar. "Resume your positions. Delegate Khan's replacement will continue his presentation tomorrow." "No." Neha's voice was quiet, but it somehow carried to every corner of the vast hall. The Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself, young human." Neha looked up from where she knelt beside Adnan, her dark eyes blazing with fury. "You want to know about human children? About why we're different? Then watch and learn." She activated her comm unit, sending an emergency broadcast on all human frequencies. Within moments, her signal was picked up by the human quarter of the station, then relayed to the colonial ships in orbit, then transmitted across subspace to every human settlement within 50 light years. The response was immediate and overwhelming. They came through every entrance to the assembly hall. Human children ranging from toddlers to teenagers accompanied by their parents, teachers, and guardians. They poured in despite the security barriers, the warning alarms, the shouted orders to halt. The Empire's forces found themselves faced with hundreds of small humans who simply walked forward with determined expressions. 8-year-old Marcus from the agricultural ship New Karachi was the first to reach the central floor. He knelt beside Neha without a word and took Adnan's hand. "Uncle Adnan told us stories about Earth," Marcus said to the assembly, his young voice amplified by the translation systems. He said humans used to have a saying, "It takes a village to raise a child," but he got it backwards. More children arrived. Zara, age 12, from the mining colony on Kepler 442b. The Okafor twins, both 15, from the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. They formed a circle around Adnan's prone form, their small hands touching his arms, his shoulders, offering what comfort they could. The alien delegates watched in bewildered silence as teenager after teenager continued to arrive, defying every security protocol, every diplomatic convention, every rule of imperial assembly procedure. "You want to know why human children take so long to mature?" Neha's voice had grown stronger, carrying the fury and pride of her entire species. It's because we teach them something you've forgotten, that when one of us falls, we all stop to help them up. 16-year-old David Chen had brought his violin. Without asking permission from anyone, he began to play a haunting melody, an old Earth song called Amazing Grace that Adnan had taught him. Other children joined in, humming along or adding their voices to the ancient hymn. Emperor Zymoth stood from his throne, his towering form radiating authority. This assembly will not be held hostage by juvenile emotions. Security, remove these offspring immediately. The security drones advanced, but something unprecedented happened. The adult alien delegates, beings who had spent their lives following imperial protocol, began to hesitate. The cetacean representative's massive form shifted nervously. Several of the silicon-based architects actually powered down their threat assessment systems. And then, impossibly, Ambassador Vexithera rose from her seat. "No," the insectoid being said, her mandibles clicking in agitation. This is instructive. Continue, young human." Neha looked down at Adnan, whose breathing had stabilized slightly. The circle of children around him had grown to nearly 200, their combined presence somehow calming the dying man's struggles. "Human children don't contribute economically," Neha said, addressing the entire assembly. "They contribute something far more valuable. They contribute morally. Every decision we make, we ask ourselves, what kind of world are we leaving for them? Every war we might fight, every treaty we might break, every species we might exploit, we stop and ask, what will our children think of us?" She gestured to the crowd of young humans surrounding them. "This is why our colonies succeed where others fail. This is why humans will cross a galaxy to help a stranger. This is why, when Adnan Khan collapses giving a speech about the future, our children drop everything to make sure he doesn't face that moment alone." The assembly hall had fallen, completely silent except for the soft melody of David's violin and the quiet whisper of Adnan's breathing. "We don't raise children to be efficient," Neha concluded, tears streaming down her face. "We raise them to be human. And that, Your Imperial Majesty, is something your empire will never understand, and exactly why it will never defeat us." Emperor Zymoth stared down at the scene for a long moment. Then slowly he made a gesture that hadn't been seen in the assembly hall for over 1,000 years. He inclined his head in respect. "The assembly," he announced, "is adjourned until Ambassador Khan recovers." As medical teams finally arrived to care for Adnan, the children remained at his side, their small voices still raised in song. And throughout the empire, word spread of the day when human cubs had brought the greatest assembly in the galaxy to a complete and utter halt, not through force or politics, but through something far more powerful: love.